Okay, everyone, welcome back. This is baseball season. It is officially kicking off. This is our Below the Belt Sports, our baseball show. We're calling it Down the Line. Whatever that means. You can think about it as a foul ball headed down the line, a fair ball headed down the line, or you can think of it as a fan sitting down the line, right? We just got a whole bunch of baseball, what do you call it? Comparisons, if you even want to go with that. For the name. Essentially, what this is weekly, we're talking baseball. We're talking baseball every single week. So this is the first one. It's opening week. Nick, I know you were at Yankee Stadium for opening day. Tell me about that. How that first before you even answer a single question, did you get the popcorn?
I didn't get the popcorn. They didn't have like the full concession thing going on. Like I was upstairs. So if I was by the bleachers, I definitely would have got the popcorn. I saw the signs for the popcorn stand, the bottomless popcorn, and there just wasn't open in our section. You're a second-rate citizen in the upper deck of Yankee Stadium with a 20% capacity crowd, but it felt so good, man. I was just like floating around that place. It honestly, that was as annoying of an opening day loss as the Yankees could have had, and I just didn't even care just to be back in Yankee Stadium. It felt so good, paying $15 for a Michelob Ultra. Gotta love it.
You didn't really get a great series to kind of open up to with the Yankees. Obviously, wasn't the result you wanted on opening day. Obviously, the bats didn't really come alive. But honestly, one, for the overreactors, the people who think that opening series means anything, it doesn't. We're looking at it right now. For spoilers, we're filming this during the Yankees Orioles game and they're winning 7-0. Now it was just 6-0. So clearly the Yankees can actually hit the baseball. It just has something to do with the Blue Jays or just their indifference to wanting to hit on opening weekend. It just seems to be a common trend. But regardless, 1 and 2 on the weekend. Not exactly where you want to start, but it is what it is. Nick, I'm a little curious what your thoughts are on just kind of like the Yankees lineup in general. What do you think?
We see this before, right? We've seen this every year. People forget in 2019 they dropped 2 of 3 games to the Orioles to start the year, and then they went and beat the Orioles the next 16 games in a row. They followed that up by losing 2 or 3 to the Tigers at home. Matt Boyd was carving them up, struck out like 13 Yankees. So it's frustrating, and the lineup does do this every once in a while when they go through slumps and no one's hitting. But I think people were taking it way too far. These guys are going to hit. Like Aaron Judge didn't forget how to hit. Giancarlo Stanton didn't forget how to hit. DJ LeMahieu didn't forget how to hit. They're just taking a couple extra games to get their timing back, and that's evidenced by tonight. They already have a 7 spot on the board. So people overreacting and saying, oh, we've seen this in the playoffs before. They also put up a 7 spot on Shane Bieber in the playoffs last year and beat Carlos Carrasco and Blake Snell. So I get it. We've seen this from the Yankee lineup before, but I don't need 3 days into the season people telling me why they have no chance of winning a World Series. It's just ridiculous to do.
And I'm a big fan of actually changing up the lineup. I don't like how it's constructed right now overall. Are you someone that not because of how they started, I just don't like how it is in general. But are you kind of someone that's like, all right, let's wait and see how it goes? Or are you kind of a proponent of not going with how it is right now? Kind of the main parts being LeMahieu leading off, Hicks batting third, maybe even Sanchez, maybe moving him around a little bit, Frazier, maybe even moving up more. Like, what do you?
I think the big thing is Aaron Hicks shouldn't be in the 3-hole, just because when you look at Aaron Hicks, his production is getting on base. And when I look at my 3-hole hitter, I need that to be someone who puts the bat on the ball, drives in runs, not somebody who's going up there looking to walk. With Hicks, I think you either got to lead him off or drop him towards the middle to bottom of the order. I personally wouldn't mind Hicks leading off and DJ 3, just because I think you better utilize both their skill sets there. So I do think Hicks at 3 is somewhat of an issue, but at the same time, the rest of the lineup, especially once Voit comes back, it's hard to mess up too much when you have these guys all clicking. So once Glaber gets going and Gio and Clayton, it's not going to be as big of a sore spot as it is now. But yeah, if you're asking me, would I change the lineup a little bit? Rather move Hicks either up to 1 or down to 6.
Yeah, I agree. In terms of it's weird to me because the way Boone describes it as batting Hicks third, It's like, it comes back to like that lefty argument. He's like, oh, I like to be able to break it up. But I feel like if the Yankees were going to really go for a guy that was like, okay, we want to have someone that we can switch it up with the lefty, they shouldn't have made it such a righty heavy lineup. Like it's weird how Cashman kind of constructs the team, and he's like, we're not really thinking about that lefty righty matchup. But then when you construct the lineup and you like specifically put a lefty in between some of your best hitters, you're clearly thinking about that righty lefty aspect. So I feel like it's kind of like it's not like the message is not clear if in terms of like whether they believe in the righty lefty aspect of things. I don't know. I just feel like it's the message is just off, because I don't think that if you're gonna be like we don't care righty lefty, we just want our best hitters going forth, then Hicks shouldn't be in the middle of that lineup. You know, I think it should be Glaber. I mean, if you want to argue Clint, just based on how he's hitting the ball, DJ should be in that 3 spot. So I don't know. I kind of am a big fan of dropping Hicks down, but obviously, I mean, they're raking today. It is the Orioles, but you know, I'm a little skeptical of Hicks staying in that 3 spot for the whole year, just because he's a lefty. Like if you were gonna be so concerned about the lefty aspect, you should have signed someone better than Hicks and let Hicks do his thing down in like the 6, 7, 8 spot. You know?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's ridiculous to care about breaking up the righties when no matter where you put Aaron Hicks, you're going to have 8 righties in a row at some point. You know what I'm saying? I know you and I are both clamoring for them to sign either a Michael Brantley, a Tommy La Stella, a lefty you could play 4 or 5 times a week and mixed in against some of the tougher righty. Because it doesn't matter where you put Hicks. People are just going to throw tough righties at the Yankees because they're very right-handed. You know, the Astros in 2019 didn't carry a single left-handed pitcher on their roster for the ALCS because the Yankees are so righty heavy. So it is what it is. I'm with you. I think they got to better utilize guys' skill sets. If they really want Hicks working counts, taking walks, lead them off. At the same time, I do understand the school of thought that Hicks is not even close to the Yankees' best hitter. So why should you get the most at bats? Then drop him to like 6 or 7, put him in the middle somewhere around there. But, you know, him at 3 just makes no sense. And pretending to care about lefty righty splits when you've built your team entirely right-handed is just even dumber to me.
Yeah, exactly. I just want the Yankees to figure it out now, you know, obviously planning around Voit and, you know, kind of have it scheduled with him coming up. I just feel like players get really comfortable when they find their spot in the lineup, you know, like not even it's like, oh, I'm the 3 hitter, I'm the best hitter on the team. It's like, no, I'm hitting 6 today. I know exactly when I'm coming up. I can plan accordingly. It just gets you in the right mindset. And I would rather them figure it out now than like Hicks bats 3rd until July and then you drop him, you know, like right around the All-Star break. Like I would rather let's get this settled now. Let's get this lineup done and over with. And like, let's really settle it down and just like go for it the rest of the season with the lineup that you want structured in the right way.
Right. Yeah. My buddy Nick from Bronx Pinstripes put it best on Twitter tonight. He said, putting Hicks in the lineup in between Judge and Stanton is like giving a pitcher a chaser in between 2 shots of Everclear.
Yeah. Well, Everclear might be bold. I don't know if I would compare. I mean, I guess, yeah.
Judge and Stanton when they're on.
The more that I think about it, the more that's actually a very like sound comparison.
At the best, they're like Burnett's.
Yeah. Or like one of those like strawberry lemonade ones.
Yeah.
So it's just like it just kind of like makes you like want to like scratch or something.
It gives me a stomach ache just talking about it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, big time. So moving on to the rest of the league. Obviously Yankees playing well right now. Still the first series. The Orioles got off to a really hot start. They beat the Red Sox. They swept the Red Sox, surprisingly. Did you see? I think their chance of making the playoffs went from 0% to 0.01%. So, I mean, you're saying there's a chance, right?
Don't call it a comeback.
Yeah. I mean, the Red Sox, I do think are going to be a little bit better than that, but that's a pretty embarrassing sweep to start the year. The Astros, what were they against? They swept the Athletics.
4-game sweep of the A's.
4-game sweep of the A's. I think that's kind of telling of the season that's going to be. I don't think the A's are as exciting. Just kind of seeing them physically play, I was just kind of like, wow, like who's really on this team that like I'm actually excited about, you know, minus Matt Chapman. Like I feel like their pitching just not like talented. You know, it is like I feel like that they just walk a lot of guys and they're just not like good. I mean, the Astros played great. Bregman played awesome. Alvarez played really was surprisingly. Altuve kind of came out hot. But, you know, I feel like the A's, it was more, I think it was more telling about how bad the A's might be, as opposed to how good the Astros are.
Yeah, the whole theme of this episode is going to be not to panic about the first series of the season. Obviously, I've said that with the Yankees all weekend. The Braves got swept by the Phillies. I still love the Braves to win that division. But for Astros A's, I really think this is how the season's going to play out. I don't think the A's are that good. Nothing about their team impresses me that much. They'll be competent, but this Astros team is still good. And, you and I both kind of echoed this in all of our preseason videos. People want to mentally bury the Astros just because of the whole cheating thing. And obviously they lost Cole, and then Verlander's still out with Tommy John, but it's still a good deep lineup. They have Yordan Alvarez back. I think Alex Bregman is going to come back with a vengeance this year. He's going to be, right up there in the MVP race. Altuve is going to bounce back. Correa in a contract year. They retained Michael Brantley, which I didn't expect. So they're a good team, the Astros. I really think they're going to be one of the better teams in the AL when it's all said and done. So it did not surprise me at all to see them get off to that kind of start in Oakland.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you think that like Bregman might actually be the MVP? Because like I was kind of like very doubtful about it, but like the more I watch him play, I'm kind of like this guy, like he could do it again. Like I know that he's one of the best players in baseball, but I kind of I don't know. I feel like I forgot about like how good he can be just because of how much we hated the Astros,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, in 2019, I remember, going into MVP voting and genuinely not knowing if he was going to win it or Trout, and it ended up being close. I don't remember the exact numbers, but it was, a little close for comfort. And you're talking about, a full good Mike Trout season. So I do think that, voters don't necessarily, they do get, what's this thing they say for LeBron? Like LeBron should win the MVP every year, but they get a little bit of a LeBron hangover and don't really want to give it to him. I think that happens with Trout, especially if the Angels are as bad as I think they're going to be. Maybe they are a little bit better. Took 2 or 3 this weekend, but I don't think they're going to be a playoff team. I think the Astros are going to win that division. There's a chance that he, wins the MVP. Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree. So speaking of the Angels, we're going to go into maybe this might be the most historic thing to happen, maybe the whole baseball season, just because it does not happen ever, was Shohei Ohtani starting a game, batting second, and absolutely nuking baseball. It was 115 miles per hour off the bat. He was hitting 101 with an 81 mile-an-hour slider. I think his splitter was going at like 84 to like 87. It was just gross. He put on one of the most, and it was literally 5 innings, and he actually hit, obviously, after the home run, he hit pretty well too. But like his just individual performance, I think that's the Angels at their absolute peak. And they still barely won the game. But I mean, Shohei Ohtani, I mean, you saw what everyone else kind of thought when you see like second coming of Babe Ruth, like you kind of saw that last night, in that game.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I've definitely hated on Ohtani in the past, from not even meeting with the Yankees when they were trying to sign him after 2017 to the thing where he had coaches ask fans not to cheer too loudly when he pitches. He's definitely an easy target, especially with his injury history. That being said, you can't deny his natural talent. I mean, you just don't see guys throwing 101 in the top half of the first and hitting a 115 mile-an-hour exit velocity homer in the bottom half of the first. So he has a lot to prove in terms of staying healthy. Do I really think he's going to DH 100 games and start 30 more? Probably not. I think it's very tough to do. I think we haven't seen people do it really since Babe Ruth for a reason. But all that being said, you have to watch it and enjoy it because it's something you never see. He has so much talent. So I am rooting for him to put it together just because I think that'd be good for baseball, and just, really exciting for the sport in general.
Yeah. And what surprised me about him? His emotion. I always kind of saw him as like someone who was just relatively emotionless just because, I mean, one, we haven't seen him on the field that much. And when we do, it's in a DH role. I mean, how many times are you watching the Angels? Are you watching the guy bat every 4 times? Like, I don't even watch Mike Trout play that often, let alone am I watching Shohei Ohtani, and, in the past couple of years. But he was showing a lot of emotion, obviously, on the mound, but even at the plate and everything. So that was really cool to see. If he's going to be like a star or a potential superstar in this league, him like kind of like giving a little like grunt, he was throwing fastballs. He struck out. I think the White Sox were, I mean, obviously the ESPN broadcast fucked it up big time. But they were saying that like the White Sox were like chirping him. And then the next pitch, he struck somebody out on a splitter and he was like pumped up. He was like getting after it. And like, I love to see that. Like, that's just not really what I was expecting, but I was expecting just like the raw baseball talent. But if we can get like a personality out of him, you know, that I think the sky's the limit for him for what he could be in terms of how good he is for baseball.
I think something that gets overlooked, honestly, is the fact that he came over here when he was, 22, 23 years old with the expectations
Younger,
of literally being, the Japanese Babe Ruth, right? I mean, obviously didn't get off to a great start, hasn't had the best health, but we talk about guys who are veterans that switch teams and you say they need a year or so to settle into wherever they're going. So the fact that he came over here from Japan with these kind of expectations on him at such a young age, I wouldn't be surprised at all if now he's settled into where he is, matured a little bit, grown up, and if he could really put it together this
year. Yeah. I mean, it does make that just seeing him actually put on the show offensively too. It does kind of make you believe in the Angels lineup a little bit more, even though, again, I said this is the Angels at their absolute peak. You have the most talented pitcher on the mound in terms of stuff on their team, and they still barely squeak by, kind of like a limping White Sox team. So, I mean, right. I still don't, as much as everyone was like, oh my God, the Angels are really good tonight. Like they're playing really well. That was them at their literal best. So don't expect much more than that. They still have to throw out Jose Quintana, like 20 times this year. So that sucks. How about Joe Madden just being a terrible manager?
That inning was just falling apart in front of his eyes so fast. And forget the, Ohtani getting, banged up a little bit at the end. Obviously, there's nothing you could do on that play, clean slide from Abreu. But just, there's no reason that game had to be tied. They said his pitch count was, I think, 75 before the game. You let him go to 91, and, he's having a rough inning, lose the zone a little bit, and comes out of the game, with it tied. It's just like, you had two of the most old school managers, the two most old school managers, I would say, in baseball, just managing this game straight out of 1985 yesterday, and it went just as poorly as you would expect.
Yeah. I mean, I said this last night in our group chat, Nate. I know that like Joe Madden is supposed to be like respected as like this like really successful manager. He was a huge philosophizer for whatever the hell the right word, philosophy.
That works.
Philosophizer, lock it in.
That's from dodgeball.
Philosophizer for how the Rays kind of came up when they were starting to be successful, and like when they transitioned from the Devil Rays to the Rays, he was part of that. And then obviously he won a World Series with the Cubs, but I think he's a bad manager. I mean, he won that World Series with the Cubs when they literally put everything they had. They literally mortgaged the future to win that World Series. They traded Gleyber Torres, for a closer when you really think about it. Yeah, they won. But like he had everything going for him to win that World Series. And then they kind of fell apart the past few years after that. They were supposed to be good. I mean, we've talked about it before. The Cubs were supposed to be good with that core, and they just weren't. I think part of that is Joe Madden's fault. I'm sure he's stubborn in a certain way of like following baseball in a certain way. I mean, he batted Anthony Rizzo leadoff for like 20 games when I think it was like the year after, or like the year after, like 2018, when they were like, we don't know what to do with this team, so we're going to bat Anthony Rizzo leadoff. And it was just like a disaster. And now he's making like dumb decisions like this, like Ohtani, someone who has a huge injury history, and was clearly getting tired. He was losing the zone with his breaking balls. Everything was like staying up. Like that's like the telltale sign of you get a guy out of here, and he is your biggest asset outside of Mike Trout. You take him out of that game at 70 pitches. That I don't care if you win or lose that game, you get him out, and then he almost gets hurt. So I'm so out on Joe Madden being like this like respected great manager. I think he just is continuously fucking up good teams. So that's my Joe Madden rant. I'm no deal with him. Lock that in, Howie.
I agree with you. And I don't want to downplay winning a World Series just because it's impressive, no matter what. But that being said, he mostly underachieved with that Cubs group. He really mostly underachieved with some of his Rays teams that really had a chance to make it further than they did. I said it last night. Joe Madden's literally just made his whole career on vibes. Like he's just known as like this like players manager, like cool cucumber, and like that's all well and good and everything, and it'll get you some love in the locker room, but you need to win at a certain point because that gets old once you don't win. So I don't know. I do think he needs to stop being looked at as one of the premier managers in baseball, and I think in a lot of ways he kind of already has.
Yeah, I think definitely a lot of people have started to see things the way you and I see it. But I don't know. I just feel like they're like the Angels are like, okay, we got Joe Madden, we're set with our manager. Like, no, he's kind of past his prime, I think, But I don't. I'm not going to talk about Joe Madden all day.
Yeah, I mean, they also hired Mickey Callaway as their pitching coach, and how's that worked out for him? So
yeah. So the Angels continue to be an absolute just shit show of an organization, minus Rendon, Trout, and Ohtani. Outside of that, just gross. One thing that we were really looking forward to seeing, especially on opening day, was the Mets Nationals series, but that got delayed due to COVID. I think it was 4 Nationals players tested positive, right?
It was 4 players and five that are deemed close contacts that are not eligible to play. To me, I don't know. I think you got to play that game. I mean, you're talking about 9 guys. I know they obviously didn't release who it was, but it wasn't Scherzer because they did say that. And you can pretty safely assume it wasn't Juan Soto, considering he had it, maybe not even 9 months ago. I don't know, 9 guys to call from the alternate site for the first weekend. I mean, my guess for MLB is like, let's just squash this now. 2 divisional opponents. They have plenty of time to get these in, but that sucks. Taking away, opening weekend from a team, from a fan base, and now you're locked into at least 3 7-inning doubleheaders and really 6 if you think about it, because you're going to probably piggyback it on another game, Mets Nationals. That really blows. So, I don't know. Obviously, hopefully, as players start to get vaccinated now, we don't run into this, and I really don't think it'll be a problem by the playoffs. But all that being said, I really think MLB, considering we're over a year into this now, needs to have a better contingency plan than just, well, we'll just cancel the games. Like, no, you need to have something better than that.
Yeah, I agree with you. It was unusual to me that the whole series got postponed. I guess at some point, I'm sure another person tested positive and they're like, just scratch the whole thing because we don't know what's happening next. And so I guess I get it to a degree, but I definitely thought they would, if they weren't going to play Thursday, that they would, almost use it as a rain delay to get that game in Friday. But, the whole Mets series got postponed because of the Nationals. And I mean, this was one of the most exciting openers that the Mets have had for a long time. And I mean, how much does it suck? I mean, we love to rip on the Mets, but I mean, I know if I was a Mets fan, that would hurt. That would honestly hurt. Like, oh my God, I've been waiting for opening day for all this time. And now you got to wait like 3 more days just to watch like your guys take the field. And for something that wasn't even like their fault, they were just swept up in it. And I feel like that's like such a Mets thing to happen.
Yeah, I genuinely felt bad. Like, I had just gotten into Yankee Stadium maybe no less than 15 minutes before I got the notification that the game was canceled. And I genuinely just felt bad for my Met fan friends. I was disappointed too, because it was a 7 o'clock ESPN game. I was looking forward to getting home after the Yankee game and watching that. But I really wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. But I mean, at least they're all good and play now. And at least it wasn't their home opener, because the only thing worse than getting a notification that you wouldn't get to watch your team on opening day would have been heading to Citi Field and figuring out that you weren't going to play on opening.
Yeah. So Nick, you mentioned your worst enemy, and I think I have an idea of who that might be. Rob Manfred. Yeah, I think is he like top 5 worst enemies? I feel like you need to make a list.
Off my head, who I hate more than him? I think
you got to make a list.
Rob Manfred and J Happ are 2 of the top 5 for sure. I'll get back with the updated top 5, but yeah, good segue, Rob. We're going to intro a new segment on the show. It's called What the Fuck, Rob Manfred. It's going to be easy to come up with one of these a week. Rob and I were actually debating making this a couple times a week on Twitter thing and just dropping 1-minute videos. But for now, we'll keep it in the show. So the first ever What the Fuck, Rob Manfred is Nick Castellanos getting a 2-game suspension. So if you didn't see Reds Cardinals, I didn't even see the whole backstory, but essentially Castellanos got plunked, some kind of
he hit a home run. Yeah, he hit a home run and then he got plunked. Yeah.
Okay, so gets plunked. Then there's a play at the plate where the pitcher's covering and Castellanos slides in safely and scores and just kind of flexes over the guy a little bit. I would say got in his face a little bit, but clearly no intention to fight him or anything. Just kind of, shows him up. And then, bench is clear, but that was really more instigated by Yadi and Molina kind of coming in from behind the play and just shoving him a little bit. So Castellanos doesn't throw a punch, doesn't push anyone, doesn't do anything. All he did was showboat on a guy who plunked him, and he's the one that gets suspended 2 games. Like, what are we talking about here? This happens every night in the NBA, a guy getting in someone's face and celebrating, because of something that happened earlier in the game. Like, I don't know what baseball needs to get through their heads. A little fire alarm action.
And my apartment's on fire. We're good.
What up, Ferncroft? Hot takes. That's what takes it so hot. I don't know what is going to take baseball to get through their heads that people are going to think it's a boring sport if you keep a muzzle on your players like that. Like, that was cool. That was good for baseball. If Castellanos comes up and, starts throwing a punch in Yadi's face, then yeah, obviously, you got to suspend him. But he physically did nothing besides showboat, which I think is entertaining as hell from an outside fan perspective. Anyone besides Cardinals fans probably enjoyed what Castellanos did. So I think it's ridiculous. I saw he appealed. I wouldn't be shocked if Manfred probably bumped it down to a game because he's such a fucking panderer, but he's just so stupid. Like, you need more emotion in baseball. Like, that's just good, hard-nosed, passionate fun, and Manfred is suspended him for it. That's the stupidest fucking thing I've seen in this young season.
Yeah, and Nick, I agree with you. It was nothing more than a showboat. Like, I saw someone make a comparison, like, oh, someone does this in the NBA literally every night. And it is just cool to see. Like, someone gets dunked on, they do the whatever that is, whatever this move is. Like this, it's something that happens. It's nothing more than like we said, Shohei Ohtani showing emotion after a strikeout, or it's a cool bat flip. It's a little. I would say it's like pitcher showing a strikeout, like pitcher showing emotion on a strikeout, a cool bat flip, and then kind of what Castellanos did is right here. But like, the level of suspension is like up here. Like, it's not even close to be suspended for 2 games for like something as just worthless as that, where he didn't hurt anyone. He literally just literally showed emotion and showboated a little bit. But like, it was after he got hit. Like, what do you want to happen? Like, at the end of the day, this is a game. It's it has a lot of emotion. It's a sport. People play the game with a lot of emotion. You pay them a lot of money to be entertaining and like to bring TV revenue. That brings TV revenue because people, as much as you really shouldn't see it, people love to see the benches clear. I was watching with one of my friends and he's like, oh shit, the bench is just cleared in Cincinnati. Guess what? I went to Twitter to go look for baseball highlights. I mean, I'm doing that anyway, but like other people who are like, oh, the bench is cleared in Cincinnati. Like, they're going to go to Twitter. They're going to turn on a game to see maybe ESPN, maybe MLB Network, whatever it is, to see what the hell happened that the bench is cleared. Like, regardless of whether you want to support it or not, we'll be PG and say benches should never clear. But like, come on, it's awesome to see. It's cool to see the guys play with emotion as long as no one actually gets hurt at the end of the day. But like, if you're not going to let the guys play with emotion, you might as well, like you said, just put a muzzle on them and just tell them, like, it's literally just shut up and dribble.
And the best part was, this wasn't some manufactured beef. Like, this wasn't Kevin Cash giving an inflammatory quote at a press conference to try and like pump his guys up. Like, this was good old fashioned. Guy hits home run, guy gets plunked, gets in the pitcher's face afterwards, and that causes tension. Like, that's the fucking best. Like, that's so awesome to see. Like, Yankees, Red Sox, like, you're right, nothing really gets people going, casual baseball fans, quite like this, because it only happens a couple times. Obviously, you can't clear the benches every fucking game. Then it would be, like I said, kind of forced. But the bottom line is this: baseball can't fake embrace the Fernando Tatis Jr., Ronald Acuna bat flip, let the kids play, and suspend Castellanos for this. It's contradictory and it's bullshit.
Yeah. I agree 100%. And it goes back to, I think what makes me more mad about it is that, like, I know they had immunity, and I hate to keep harping on what the Astros did, but they got no games. Every time someone gets suspended for something like this, the first thing somebody is going to point to is that the Astros, the physical players, yes, their coaches got suspended for the year, but guess what? All of them have jobs again. I guess except Carlos Beltran, but that's kind of, he was a player coach situation. That was weird. But like, all of them have jobs again, and none of their players got suspended for it. So you're essentially banning cussing. You're saying that showing emotion is worse than literally cheating in baseball. Like what would you want him to do? Like, if you're going to show emotion, he got hit, he did his thing. What would you want him to do? Charge the mound? Like, that's like the safest way to like kind of, get your ego out, kind of like man up a little bit, like literally just like screaming in the guy's face, doing that, whatever shoulder move, whatever that is that people love to do. Like, that's the safest way to do it and the coolest way to do it. Like, it was made for an awesome photo. Like, it makes baseball so much better. And it's, at the end of the day, it's what the fuck, Rob Manfred.
For real. What the fuck, Manfred?
Segment over. Rant over. We are also introducing another segment, NSFW. For those who don't know what that means not safe for work. For this one, for the opening week, I might want to change my pick after seeing that Stanton home run. That was fucking sexy. But my pick is going to be a Shohei Ohtani overlay from Pitching Ninja. A 101. This is to the guy who was 8 for 8. Your min Mercedes. He was 8 for 8. He was having one of the best starts of the season. He has a 3-pitch overlay. It's 101 mile an hour fastball, a 87 mile an hour splitter, and 92 mile an hour splitter, and a 80 mile an hour curveball. Just absolutely disgusting overlay. And if you're watching that at work, you really should just kind of go home, take your lunch break for a second. It is definitely not safe for work. The more I look,
for Ohtani, that home run was sick, but just like the sound, like it's a cliche, but it really is true. Just the sound of the crack of a bat of some guys sounds different. Like Ohtani hitting this ball just did not.
First pitch swinging.
And like, obviously part of that is that the ESPN mics are literally drunk. I don't know what they do with the Sunday Night Baseball broadcast. Remains one of the most ridiculous sports broadcasts of all the major sports. That being said, Ohtani absolutely nuked that ball, cock shot, piss missile, whatever your favorite home run term is. That is the definition of one. So, we talked about Ohtani before. I won't go into it at length here, but that is a ball that you can't see a lot of guys hit. Not a lot of guys are capable of that, and he did it on Sunday Night Baseball, which is pretty fucking awesome.
When you think about like the ESPN broadcasters, like individually, I like Matt Vasgersian, I like Alex Rodriguez, but them together, it just doesn't work. Like, there was a 3 or 4 minute stretch where Matt Vasgersian was clearly trying to initiate conversation with A-Rod. He was just listing off a bunch of stats, and A-Rod was just sitting there silently. Like, he said, I think it was in like the 4th inning, and it was just Matt Vasgersian just listing off like stat after stat after stat, and with like a 3 or 4 second break in between each, like clearly trying to get A-Rod to say something. And I just picture A-Rod just sitting there like, and then one time he literally, Vasgersian says something. He says like, "Oh, that was a great combo of pitches right there by Ohtani." And A-Rod goes, "Fastball, slider."
Yeah, like
that's it.
Here's what it is, because I like both them individually. A-Rod's a studio guy, so he's perfect for like 15 to 20 minute like bursts of like analysis and zaniness, but like 4 straight hours with him, he just comes off as drunk. And then Vasgersian is literally like Will Ferrell and the other guys with bad cop. He's like, shit, like I gotta top that. So Vasgersian like tries to play into it, and it just makes for a wild broadcast. So they're like a toxic couple. I like them both separately, but together they just make an absolute mess of Sunday Night Baseball.
Oh, absolutely. It's disgusting. They are not safe for work. That's that was our culmination of that segment. They are not safe for work, and they are not safe for Sunday Night Baseball.
You know what was refreshing though? Seeing the Angels and White Sox on Sunday Night Baseball. Like, it's nice when ESPN remembers there's teams besides the Yankees, Dodgers, Phillies, Braves, and Red Sox. Like, I'm sure, the Mets are on a ton this year, but it would be nice to like actually get almost every team. I say almost because like you don't need to put the fucking like Pirates on Sunday Night Baseball, but like actually get a lot of these teams on Sunday Night Baseball, get the national audiences involved, have them figure out who some of these, more obscure players are. And I say obscure as guys who are stars, within their own market, but not so much nationally. So hopefully they mix that up this year. I'm pretty sure I saw the schedule and it was like 7 Yankee games. So I'm sure they didn't mix it up, but would be nice if that was something they tried to focus on moving forward.
I agree. And I think they try to make it like this, but it's not like having your team on Sunday Night Baseball is nowhere near like having your team on like Sunday Night Football or like Monday Night Football or like the Thursday night game. Like you almost want your baseball team to be on your regularly scheduled programming. You know what I mean? You want, like, for Yankee fans, you want them to be on Yes Network as much as they can. For Mets fans, you want them to be on SNY so you can listen to your broadcasters, because when they're out of schedule, it's just like, okay, these guys don't know my team as well as like the regular broadcasters do. And it's just like at a wacky time. So I don't know. No, I agree. You do need to get that national attention though. Like I would love to see the Brewers be featured a lot more, like a Brewers Cardinals game. Give me like 3 or 4 of those. That's going to be one of the tightest races in baseball this year. I would love to see a Corbin Burns, Jack Flaherty matchup. Right? Like I would watch that every night. But yeah, I agree. It was awesome to actually see like 2 cool matchups on Sunday Night Baseball. Ohtani
Absolutely.
and the White Sox. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's it for baseball this week. Obviously another big week coming up. We're going to get to see the Mets play. We're going to see DeGrom in that new look Lindor. I'm looking forward to that and everything that's going to happen. And I just want to say, this is the year of the pitcher. We are getting a Lucas Giolito Cy Young and MVP award this season, or Garrett Cole or Shane Bieber, one of those guys. But an MVP is coming from a pitcher this year. This is the year of the pitcher. So if anyone wants to shirt, I only made 2 or 3 of these. So DM me individually because I will make it individually for you. But I'll do it one more time. Below the Belt Sports year of the pitcher.
Yeah, if anyone wants a shirt, DM Rob. We're planning on selling at least 4, so
maybe 5.
Go fast. We're already halfway there, 1 each.
Yeah.
Also, live Audible right here. Let me know your thoughts on this. I say we get in either a little listener voicemail or just Twitter thread. Just tweet questions. We'll pick 2 or 3 questions every show to answer as poorly as we possibly can, because you know that it's not going to be a good answer. So anyone watching, if you want to ask us a question, we'll do our best to answer it. We can't promise we're going to be right. We'll probably be
far
wrong,
off, actually.
But if you want to, if you want to talk about anything, whether it's your team, I've had a lot of Blue Jays truthers coming after me. There's, Blue Jays fans are not happy with me right now. I had someone create a burner account, tell me I talk too much shit on the Blue Jays here. I had someone today respond to my tweet, a Blue Jays fan from like February where I was talking shit on them. So, they're a rambunctious group. I thought Canadians were supposed to be friendlier, but listen, if you have a problem with me when I talk, let me know. I'm happy to address it on the show. So that's what this is for, air everything out, airing of the grievances.
Yeah, well, maybe that's the segment we'll call it, Air It Out. or just a Q&A. Why put a name on it?
Airing it out.
Iron
it out. Yes, there it is. That's what it is.
There it is. All right. We'll see you guys next week. Like, comment, subscribe, do the YouTube thing, or just follow us on Twitter. That works too. Whatever you want. Year of the pitcher. Go Yanks.
Later, skaters.
Later.